Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in today on a great viewer question and a great topic, and that is to understand the role of the dynamic of projection in a relationship with a covert narcissist. How does someone basically stay codependent? So that's a great topic that we're going to zoom in on. But before we get started, I just want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Great to hear from you. Thank you so much for your donations. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to dive in deep and really help you to heal for good on these very painful relationship dynamics. Oftentimes that can penetrate and infiltrate your life for years and decades, especially the most significant relationships, and are very disruptive to the core of your being, the very fabric of your life. So thank you so much for your donations, and absolutely positively, if the channel has been a positive resource, please do feel free to participate and donate and contribute to the PayPal Donate Now button here on the homepage at Peace and Harmony channel. So we're going to zoom in and focus in right now on the understanding your role, the role of projection, codependence, and how this dynamic, how this interplay evolves, the cause that's created this dynamic and this belief pattern, this thought pattern, this behavior pattern in a relationship with a covert narcissist or even someone who is psychopathic. Yes, we can include that because there is definitely a role of projection or creating a sort of feeling of a facade or ignoring of the red flags. In other words, a putting up in a veneer, if you will, an overlay, if you will, over this person. It's putting a mask on them of goodness, or that causes you to not perceive or deal with or confront the red flags that are really oftentimes quite obvious in the relationship. But because of the projection, because of the film that you are putting on them, because of the overlay, because of the facade or the mask that you're putting on them that is keeping you from your own hurt, is causing you to enter into a relationship of codependence. Codependence meaning that you are taking your own self-sufficiency, your own self-reliance, and placing it on a dependency of others, or satisfying the needs above and beyond your own, and basically falling into suit with their narcissistic needs. I know it's a little bit complex, but let's see if we can break it down here for you. It's basically to understand that a narcissist wants the win situation, but for them, it has to be a win-lose situation. In other words, I want you to hearken herald that I'm better than, above than, more talented, particularly in this area, and I want you to play along. The people who become codependent or who become supply are those people then who play along. It's those people who then say, yes, I'm going to play these charades. I'm going to play this game. I'm going to put up and shut up. I'm going to numb my own needs, and it's too painful for me to be alone or to admit the truth, no matter what stage you are in the game. So I'm going to play along with this debacle. I'm going to play along and swallow my pride and feel inferior or become, by default, powerless in this relationship. And so I'm going to give you the power. And so you being in power is what I'm going to make my life or my future about. So it's saying basically that, yes, I'm going to allow you the win. I'm going to cut you the slack. I'm going to turn a cheek. I'm going to turn a shoulder. I'm going to turn a deaf ear. I'm going to allow this basic hypocrisy to continue. I'm going to play the charade. I'm going to play the game. I'm just going to, let it go. And I'm going to continue to take the back seat. I'm going to continue to take the low road. I'm going to continue to take the manipulation or abuse and not confront it, not deal with it, because to do so, either A, I don't know how to, so I'm just gonna, agree to this. But as you evolve and grow, no life is static. So eventually it becomes quite painful, where you see the gap widens, the pain deepens, the low self-esteem gets lower. You start getting, edged out of business deals. Start getting edged out of the great desk at work. You start getting edged out of decision making. You start getting edged out of vacations. You getting edged out of conversations. And you become the object of the smear campaign, the gaslighting, the brainwashing, or the scapegoating. And it is this very allowing that perpetuates this to continue. So in essence, you become, the hand that's stirring the pot. If you're allowing it, you're basically allowing it to cook, solidify, and become the formula or the dish that you're eating. So oftentimes it can be very distasteful, and people even stop eating, stop having relationships. They just resign themselves to this lower relationship pattern, and they end up basically suffering until the suffering gets so great they end up losing too many things that they go, wow, we have to do something here. We have to change. And to understand the role of projection is to understand that perhaps earlier in the relationship, and no, it's not too late, is to understand that earlier in the relationship, there were little peaks, there were little holes, there were little gaps in the weave of the relationship fabric where you could basically see and that this was not going to work out, that this person was unhealthy, this person was a pathological liar. There was something a little off. There was something a little awry with this individual, but yet you didn't have the wherewithal, you didn't have the strength, or you didn't have the backing to call it out, or you just said, you know what, I'm just going to let this go. This person is too cool. This person's too powerful. This person's too wealthy. They're too talented. What do I know? And I'm just going to let it go. So if you were a child, perhaps your thinking was immature. You didn't have the backing of other family members, or at your workplace, you didn't have the backing of other managers. You didn't have the support. So you basically just swallowed the big pill. You basically just began to have the self-limiting belief that I am the ugly one. I am the weak one. I am the poor man out, or the poor woman out. So you then began to project goodness onto this person, the mask that this person is the leader of the pack. I'm just going to, by default, I'm going to allow this to be. And I'm going to basically feed their fire. I'm going to fuel my fears at the same time. So when you end up fueling your own fears, you end up digging a deeper hole of low self-esteem within. You end up digging a deeper hole of resentment, because resentment is like basically this unconfronted fear festering and allowing to simmer and brew and becoming more toxic over time. So it becomes more severe over time. It becomes more intolerable over time. And until, basically then you erupt in anger, resentment. It's allowed to fester for too long that it becomes really unmanageable, out of control. And oftentimes it needs to be confronted on then many levels. So the projection then is basically like saying confronting the projection is like saying, I'm done with the charades. I'm calling this out. I'm calling a spade a spade. I'm able to confront this reality within myself. I'm done, playing pretend with this individual. I'm done playing pretend with this job. I'm done playing pretend with this family. So there becomes a real need to then disband from the codependency or the projection and saying, you know what, it's time for me to see that there are red flags and that I am strong enough and I have the courage to say, yes, these are red flags. I do know what I feel. This tension is not about me. It's about the jealousy of this person. There's nothing wrong with me when you're scapegoated or put into a codependent relationship. That person is basically saying, I've got you right where I want you. I've got you in the palm of my hand, silly putty, and then you are now going to become what I make you. You're now going to become what I shape you. You now are going to become a receptacle for me to basically unload my insecurities. That's what scapegoating is. It's a way for another to unload their insecurities onto another and then get away with bossing people around, pushing people around, mistreating people, giving others the raw end of the deal, the short end of the stick. Look what I got. It's always a way for them to avoid dealing with their own pain. Always, unequivocally, yes. And so when you confront them and say no more, this is when either the tide has to turn and the person realizes that they're not looking good, that they are a problematic individual because of their need to scapegoat and mistreat people. They'll see that they don't look very good, and that, and it really will really be between, the two of you, or if not more, when you expose the narcissist or expose the psychopath for their pathology, for their lies, for their business dealings, for their mistreatment or their unfair, dealings in relationships, styles with others, the ignoring, the sabotaging, the scapegoating, the talking about people behind their back. Eventually, word is going to get out, and eventually the people who are willing to face reality will be able to see exactly where you're coming from. And so it perpetuates this relationship until you are able to stand up and have the courage and trust and stop projecting the good onto the situation. And so oftentimes, though, what I hear from a lot of viewers is that there's always more than you two characters involved. There's always the flying monkeys. There's always the other department. There's always more people involved. And, how do you then turn the tables? How do you handle this? Excuse me. So really, excuse me, I'm going to need to wrap up this video here in a minute because I have a severe tickle here in my throat. But it's to understand, namely, that the projection has to begin with you owning your own reality and being able to trust yourself and say, I deserve a win-win. And to know how to do this and confront this is to say, okay, I am enough. What I have is enough. I am good enough. The actual good life that I want, the actual good relationship that I want is going to come when I stop projecting good onto the situation. And I'm going to do this in an objective and dispassionate way, which means I'm not going to look like a crazy person, yell, scream, and banter, and be reactive to get what I want. In other words, I'm going to come from a place of emotional mastery. I'm going to come from a space of indifference. I'm going to come from a place of dispassion to gain my passion. In other words, to live my truth. You need to come from a cool, calm, collected body. You can't come from a state of overwhelm. Come from a state of overwhelm is to say, I'm still in a traumatic bond with this individual and I'm still not, I'm still acting out of resentment. And that is going to be your worst anchor to the past. You're basically saying, I'm helpless and powerless to this. So any anxiety that is tied to this is an anchor to the past, and it will not allow you to free and liberate yourself from the past. So you need to unequivocally unhook that resentment. You need to let that go. What's bygones is bygones. What you have is the now. And that is where the very perfect spot that you have to get what you want, the liberation, the freedom, and to stop this relationship dynamic and have respect from these people for yourself as well. And so it is to stop the projection. It's to say, you know what, maybe this person is not so good, and what does this mean to me? Maybe this situation is not what everybody is making it out to be. What does this mean to me? How can I reclaim the better meaning in my life where I am actually empowered and I'm not just an object of supply or trauma bond to this individual? I'm no longer playing the game. How do I then reset and realistically, in reality, how do I get the good life? How do I become the person that I truly want to be? How do I actually have the relationships in the manner that I want them? And to do that is to understand that you can't change this person, but you can change your feelings and how you address, particularly that you're not going to play in and feed the fears and feed their ego. You're not going to feed your fears, fuel the fire. You're going to stop. And you do that emotionally, energetically. It is to say unequivocally that I prefer clarity, and I'm going to focus on that clarity and become unemotional, especially when it comes regards to this. I'm going to have the audacity, the boldness, and the courage to see this objectively and to let them go. It's an energetic release. It's to understand, okay, what was, and to fulfill my needs now is my responsibility and accountability. It's to understand the dynamics that I'd allowed this to occur because of ignorance or my own emotional immaturity, that this was a temporary situation. It's to understand that, okay, I'm going to let that go. I'm going to let that perspective go. I'm going to let the meaning go that I had assigned to this relationship and what was going on that caused me to perpetuate and continue a role of projection. In other words, allowing it to happen, not feeling backed up, not feeling the backbone, not having the support, not having my needs met. It's to understand that I'm no longer going to continue along that road. I'm no longer going to continue along negative orderly direction thinking, feeling, behaving, and choosing. I'm going to, stop hitting my hand against the wall and asking someone else to stop the pain. It's to say I'm going to stop drinking the poison and expecting someone else to feel sick. I'm going to stop the toxic thinking on my own and expect others to change. So it's like, expecting someone else to eat and for me to start feeling full. It just does not going to work that way. For you to have your own reality and live the good life and become empowered, especially as it comes to confronting this situation, is to say, I have the ability, the faith in myself to say, you know what? That tension, maybe it's not about me. Maybe I don't have to buckle. Maybe I don't have to give in. Maybe this person can fess up. Do you need a fessing up? Do you need an admission of guilt? You cannot be guilty for satisfying your own needs. You cannot feel guilty, and oftentimes that's the hook to the past of the resentment, is that there's part of you, there was a guilt really laid on deep within the deepest layers, that there was a guilt for me that kept me in the projection mode. So we want to keep it simple and to understand the role of projection and perhaps the neediness that caused you to perpetuate this relationship. You felt desperate. You act angry. You feel guilty because of this. It's to let go of the guilt now for fulfilling your needs now, and to say, okay, I'm taking ownership in especially a dispassionate state, and I'm not going to feel guilty about looking at the red flags, seeing them for what they are, seeing the tension for what it is, and to say, maybe this really isn't about me. Maybe this tension is about the jealousy about this other person, and this is where they want me to get them to buckle, and I'm not going to buckle. Okay, but I'm not going to speak words of resentment and anger to this person, because to do so would be to perpetuate this relationship dynamic. It's like agreeing to it. It's like, yep, I agree to be angry here. I'm going to, I'm agreeing to your terms. I'm going to look bad. No, you have to be the big man or big woman, big boy or big girl here. Nope. Unequivocally, 100%, I'm committing to my own basically posture. I'm agreeing to my own backbone. I'm agreeing to my own peace in objective dealings with this. I'm going to master my emotions. And 100% being responsible for all my senses, including the higher senses and my higher learning centers, and getting out of the fight or flight and really, really sparking up and stepping up the ignition, my own, keeping it right to the source, and embodying not only my 5 senses, but really ratcheting it up so that my intuition, my gut, and my higher consciousness, my guidance system is really on point, really on fire. And to say then that I can unequivocally stop that madness and call it out. And sometimes you need to do so not by speaking, but by doing, and by deciding, by not entering the relationship as the same person, as the same energy, as the same I am. It's to use the words of empowerment, to saying, it's not fair that. I no longer play to that position that. I no longer abide by or concur with that. I no longer permit that. I know, and also looking at the hot buttons of the covert narcissist and understanding that oftentimes these are the very people that want to look good. So, saying it does not make you look good when, you're really not, in the power position when you do this. It does not make you look attractive. This is not, and so in other words, it's like unplugging the ego, if you will. And, I don't mean to unplug your ego. Using words of emotional intelligence is how you stop the projection. And it's how you stop the smear campaign. It's how you stop the scapegoating. When you speak the words of truth in empowered terms, using some terms of psychology, being emotionally intelligent, an emotional genius, if you will, because that's really the level that you have to ratchet up to stop the projection. Especially if you've been doing this for years. I have so many viewers who say, I wish I had known this 20 years ago. I wish I had done this 25 years ago. Well, you know what? It's time for you to compress time and work on a quantum level of healing so you can play catch up with yourself, with your life, with your situation, with your career, with your family, with your love life, whatever it is. It's time for you to play catch up. And so it is to understand the emotional mastery that's going to be required, and the very, very simple terminology and physiology and phraseology that you can practice and rehearse. This might not roll off your tongue. This might roll off your decision making right away. This might take time to marinate for you to start feeding your own strength rather than your own fears. And to be able to confront and expose when appropriate, when needed, this will be very liberating and very empowering. It will stop the projection. It will help you to see and call out the red flags and begin to bring the power, the energy, the solutions, and really your higher guidance system that will really surprise you with how much you're able to be assertive in these situations once you begin to realize these lessons and apply. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Thanks for hanging in there. You can do it. Peace out. Love you.